This morning we are continuing our sermon series called The Gifts of Christmas. Last week we looked at the gift of expectancy, the expectation and the excitement that comes along with the Advent season. This morning we are considering the gift of God's grace. And as we did last week, we will have a video from one of the skit guys after I read the second reading. So today I am reading some of the opening words from the Gospel according to John in chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word was with God in the beginning. Everything came into being through the Word, and without the Word nothing came into being. What came into being through the Word was life, and the life was the light for all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness doesn't extinguish the light. The Word became flesh and made his home among us. We have seen his glory, glory like that of a father's only son, full of grace and truth. From his fullness, we have all received grace upon grace. As the law was given through Moses, so grace and truth came into being through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, God, the only Son, who is at the Father's side, has made God known. The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
Hello, my name is Lewis, and I love Christmas. I love everything about it. The snow, the lights. I'm sorry. But most of all, I love the reason for the season. That's why this year, as a Christian, I got so tired of hearing that disrespectful phrase. You know the one. Happy holidays. Every time somebody'd say it to me, I would give them a good old Merry Christmas right in their face. Booyah for the Messiah!
Stop getting riled up. You're gonna hurt yourself.
Mom! I'm trying to talk here!
Whatever. I'm calling Dr. Goldstein.
Sorry. I had to move back in with my mother after all this.
Tell the truth, sweetie.
Fine. I've always lived with my mother.
Against my better judgment.
Mom! Can I just tell my story? So recently, I went to the supermarket to pick up some eggnog. As I walked in, the guy standing next to the grocery carts throws a big, "Happy holidays, mister," right in my face like it's no big deal. But guess what?
What, honey?
It was a rhetorical question, Mom. I am building the drama of the story.
Always so dramatic.
What? Oh, I'm the dramatic one? Oh, really? Anyway, the kid, this Happy Holidays punk, just got me riled up. So I grab the nog and I go to pay. The clerk rings me up, and what does she say? Happy Holidays. I was enraged. I was in a blind fury. I jump up on the counter, I grab the microphone, and I yell into it. It's not a holiday, people! It's Christmas! I'm mad as heck, and I'm not gonna take it anymore! Unfortunately, my foot slipped, triggering the conveyor belt. Now, bread and milk doesn't seem to be moving too fast, but a 175-pound man flies off that belt. And fly I did. Not like a majestic eagle or a Superman. I flew like a partridge falling out of a pear tree. I flew into a display of Chia Pet nativity sets. Thus, my current condition. And then something funny happened. A gift arrived for me. Mom, a little help, please? No, not that one. No. Don't, to your left. Your left. No, the one that arrived. That's the one. Thank you.
You watch your tone with me, mister.
Well, it was from Elizabeth. The girl whose checkout stand I'd commandeered. She'd given me a gift. At first it didn't make sense. I didn't deserve anything good from her. Not the way I'd acted. I'd acted like a maniac. But then I got to thinking. I had been bound up in religion. And I didn't want to be bound up anymore. Religion is always having to be right. Grace, that's being right with others, being right with God. So this gift, I don't know what's in it. It could be more eggnog. It could be a Chia Pet nativity set. Doesn't matter. The real gift is better than either of those things.
Oh, you two are destined for wedlock!
Mom! Why did you do that? Why do you always go there? We're not going to get married!
It's a match made
I don't
in
even
heaven.
know her!
But you said she
It
was...
doesn't matter if I said she was cute!
Just for the record, I did look to see if there are any such thing as a Chia Pet nativity set. I can't find them, but I thought that might be fun. So I wonder how many of you can relate to what Lewis was sharing. That sense of kind of frustration or it kind of makes your skin crawl when people greet each other with happy holidays at this time of year. Well, you know, I bet for many of us, saying happy holidays has just become second nature, as it should be, because we want to be inclusive. After all, Christmas is not the only holiday, sacred or secular, that is celebrated at this time of year. So we don't want to offend anyone, especially those who belong to a different faith tradition or those who belong to no faith tradition at all. We say happy holidays because we don't want to offend. And you know, for the last several years, however, there has been a movement by a group to reinstate the Merry Christmas greeting. It's a movement that was probably started by some well-meaning Christians, but has ended up, in my opinion, causing more harm than good. You see, Lewis was like some of those well-meaning Christians that I've been talking about. He felt that the true meaning of Christmas had been taken away. And quite frankly, he wanted it back. But he went about it the wrong way. He tried to take it by force. We all know that that never ends well. When Lewis went flying off the conveyor belt, like, what did he say, a partridge falling out of a pear tree? Some probably believe that he got what he deserved. After all, he was being quite rude and obnoxious, demanding that people say Merry Christmas instead of the dreaded Happy Holidays. He deserved to fall off that check stand and break his body, I'm sure some people were thinking. And his pain and suffering, well, that was just simple payback. But Elizabeth, the clerk whose check stand he commandeered that day, thought he deserved something different. She thought that he deserved something better, and that something was the gift of grace. Lewis learned a valuable lesson that day and in the days that followed his accident. He learned what it means to be the recipient of grace, what it means to receive unmerited favor, an unconditional agape love. Lewis certainly didn't deserve the grace that he received, but he got it anyway. because a young woman he barely knew understood the true meaning of Christmas, the true meaning of Jesus' birth. Grace is God giving us the greatest treasure, giving us the greatest treasure to those of us who don't deserve it. We deserve it the least. It's when we get what we don't deserve, or when we don't get what we do deserve. Let me share with you an example. Let's say you're speeding down the highway, and you know you are speeding. And you absolutely deserve the ticket when the police officer pulls you over. But instead, the officer says to you, "I'm going to let you off with a warning today." Yep, that, my friends, is grace. Or when you're in line at the coffee shop and you're getting impatient and you want to place your order, but the people ahead of you are being slow, and your frustration continues to build, and by the time you get up to place your order, the barista says, "Oh, by the way, the person in front of you, yeah, they paid for your coffee today." That is grace. As Lewis discovered, grace isn't about being right. And he found that out after making a fool of himself and breaking his back and his arms in the process. Grace is about being right with God and being right with the people around us. And you would think that especially during this Christmas season, we would be especially aware of that, right? But the sad reality is that the time before Christmas is when we give and receive the least amount of grace. We're frustrated by the crowds in the stores and impatient about the extra traffic on the roads. We complain when the clerks at the grocery store move too slow, and we get angry at the clerks when the perfect gift that we've been searching for is nowhere to be found. We get stressed out over the least little thing, and when we've reached the ends of our ropes, our tempers flare and angry words fly. And that is when we need to be reminded of God's grace. We need to remind ourselves why Jesus came in the first place. We need to take a deep breath and remember what it is that we are celebrating. We're celebrating the greatest gift to humankind ever. God's incredible gift of grace. Now, when we read the opening words of John's Gospel, they remind us of God's purpose in sending God's Son to become human and to live among us. John writes, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Jesus was the Word made flesh, the light shining in the darkness. And even though he already was, he needed to become. He needed to be like us, human in form, to remind us how we are meant to live with each other and to love one another. Because quite honestly, we had forgotten. We had forgotten what it meant to love. We had forgotten what it meant to love unconditionally, without expecting anything in return. And John tells us that when Jesus came to live among us, he was full of grace and truth. And what's more, from him, we also receive God's grace and truth. And because we receive, we are meant to give. Advent reminds us of God's gift of grace, that unbelievable gift given at no cost to us. But Advent also reminds us that as recipients of that grace, we are also meant to share that grace with others, especially at this time of year, when our tempers are short and our stress levels are high. The gift of God's grace is a reminder that not only do we need to be right with God, but we need to be right with each other, with all of those around us, even those we have never met. Yesterday morning, as I was preparing this message, a guy named Tim posted something on Facebook about his own Merry Christmas debacle. Here is what he wrote. I made the mistake of saying Merry Christmas to a clerk today. She stood up tall and said how horrible it was that she had to say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. I responded that Happy Holidays was a wonderful thing to say because so many religions have holy days this time of year, but she would have none of it. This is America, and we are a Christian nation, she replied. As a result, Tim writes, I may be more reluctant to say Merry Christmas to clerks in the future. She sabotaged her own effort to evangelize and reminded me one more time why we Christians are becoming less respected as ambassadors of Christ. Tim's message was accompanied by what I believe we call a meme, which Mike is going to put up on the screen in just a moment. And all of us might take heart as we encounter the kind of situation that both Lewis and Tim's store clerk said when they insisted on the Merry Christmas greeting. Here's what it says. I'm a Christian. When someone says Happy Holidays to me, I simply smile and reply, you as well. I don't lecture them or insist on them acknowledging Christmas because I'm a Christian. I'm not a jerk. Now that, my friends, is grace. Amen.